players smile now.
But Michael Jordan is not only the best basketball player, but he's the most exciting basketball player to ever play.
Tatum fires away, pumps it in. 51 for Jayson Tatum.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Big Three NBA podcast. I'm joined by Sherrod Blakely and Gary Washburn, and I myself, Kwani Lunis. Thank you for tuning in again. And before we get started, it was very presumptuous to say again, but hopefully you are a regular at this point. We want to make sure you are not listening to this when you're not listening to this podcast, you are showing some love to our good friends at Prizepicks. They're America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. You can download the app today and get a $50 bonus after your first $5 lineup. And as a friendly reminder, you are listening to the Big Three NBA podcast, which is actually a part of the CLNS Media Network, which is where you can find our podcast and a ton of other great Celtics episodes on a regular basis. That being said, let's talk about the Celtics specifically in regards to Summer League. So at this point, the Celtics are 2-1 after that loss to the Miami Heat in Summer League. They were going really strong at the beginning, but it's okay. One loss so far. Charles Bassey, 10 points, 9 rebounds. Jordan Walsh with 13 points before getting ejected in the second quarter. We're going to talk about that in just a second. Of course, Baylor Scheierman, 19 points, 9 assists. The good news is that we have Gary Washburn on the ground in Vegas, our insider for all of this. But what was your takeaway from that loss against the Heat?
Well, they just missed a lot of shots early. They came back. They actually had a 4-point lead late. And then Miami went on an 8-0 run. And the Celtics just were not the same team that played the first two games. First two games, they were really, really good throughout the games. This time they played a really bad first half, and then they were able to rally, but they just didn't get consistent performances out of guys like Baylor Scheierman, obviously, and then Jordan Walsh got ejected in the second quarter. Even Bassey was pretty good, but not as good as he was in the first two games. Maury Williams did not play. Hugo Gonzalez had his moments, but he was also kind of erratic. So they just one of those games where, you got kids out there pretty much, and they had a clunker because Miami was 0-2. So you thought, okay, Celtics should roll here,
right.
2-0 against 0-2. And Miami just looked like they were more determined. And then, they played guys, Khalil Ware, who played a lot of games in a regular season. He was out there. He had like a big, I think, 25 and 13, and Pale Larson. And so Miami had some real pros out there. So if you're the Celtics, you just kind of pick up your pride and try to get another one on Thursday.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the thing about it is, Summer League is such a feast or famine time of year. And then the Celtics, they just didn't have that edge. I think definitely not having Jordan Walsh in the second half certainly was not a good thing. The way he was rolling in the first half with his shot making, he was on pace to have one of those kind of games that are really, really special. And you're right. I mean, Bassey was okay, but there are little things about his game that I'm starting to understand why he's not in the league. There's some shortcuts that he takes out there that bother me a little bit. And they're the kind of things that if you're watching this from the sideline, is he worth bringing to training? We'll talk more about him later, but the things about his game that aren't great. And Scheierman, he had 19 points, but he also took 19 shots. So that's not what you're looking for from him, certainly. He made some big ones there down the stretch, but, they just didn't make the plays that they needed to at both ends of the floor when the game mattered most. And that's why, they're 2-1, which is not bad, but, when you're a Summer League, I mean, to me, it's either you win every game or you lose every game. Don't give me 2-1, 2-2, because that, to me, that's pointless. I mean, it's like being in the NBA and you're a 500 team. Yeah, it's nice, but what are you really winning with that? You either be really good or really bad. And then the Celtics, I thought they blew an opportunity to continue on their undefeated ways. Fortunately for them, there's still more games to be played, but still, they should have won that game, especially as Gary pointed out. had the lead. I mean, when I was putting the rundown together while the game was going on, and I literally had to go back in and change it to they weren't undefeated no more because they were up they were up like 4 or 5 points with about 2 minutes to play, and it just felt that this was their game. But give Miami credit; they made the plays that had to be made. But Celtics, they know they can be better than this.
And we'll talk about who you both think was the most impactful player thus far in Summer League. But before we do, specifically with Gary too being there in person, what was your impression of Jordan Walsh's ejection, and what did you see?
I thought he was a little bit fed up with basically how he was being guarded. Miami was being really physical. Miami was trying to set the defensive tone, and they had guys like Eric Stevenson, who's known as kind of a guy who plays tough, Pale Larson. They had guys kind of beating up on him because he's the focal point of the team, of the opposing team's defense. He's one of the, him and Baylor are the two best offensive players. So they had very much a focus on Jordan. And I think Jordan was just kind of fed up. And so he got an and one, got into it with Stevenson, that little shoving match, got a tech. And then a few minutes later, he got the second tech. And remember, too, we're also talking about Summer League refs who are being judged and evaluated. The lead person, the president of the officiating committee, is there. Monty McCutcheon is watching courtside. So these refs are trying to really, do everything to the letter and be precise in how they call the game. And it might be a little bit, painstaking and stringent, but that's what they're trying to do because they're trying to get continue and get a job in the league. They're trying to get more reps and that type of thing. So if you're you can't blame them. And I think they just, they gave Jordan a tech, and then the second one he deserved. That was a technical foul. The first one could have just been probably just, hey guys, go to your corners and don't do this again. But he ended up essentially calling a tech on him. So with Jordan, I just think he felt like he had enough. But you don't get tossed out of a game like that because obviously when you lose a game like that and you're the leading scorer and you get thrown out, you got to take it upon yourself to say, like, I cost us this game because if I play, we don't lose this game. And so that's the kind of thing that Jordan has to look in the mirror and say, okay, I have more of a responsibility to this team than I have before, and I need to be more mature and handle things better than to getting tossed in the second quarter, especially when you push a guy right into your new owner, down a few seats from where the new owner is sitting and your general manager. So everybody saw it.
Yes. And just the look on Brad's face when it happened, and you could see him just say, Jordan, like, dude, what are you doing? But I will say this, though. I think Jordan is doing what you're supposed to do in a summer league, particularly when you're a young player, and that's learn. I mean, this should be a learning experience that benefits him going forward. He understands now the repercussions that can come about when you don't play with composure, particularly in games where you're playing well and teams are consciously trying to take you out of your game. They're being overly physical with you because they want you to start thinking about their physicality and not just playing the game. And Jordan, he fell for the bait. Miami was probably the one team, whether it's summer league, regular season roster, G League team, whatever, that has that as part of their overall DNA. Every level of Miami Heat basketball has a roster full of agitators, guys that frankly try to get under your skin. That's part of what they're looking for. They want as many guys as possible with that particular character trait. And they had a couple of them on the summer league team, and they were absolutely making Jordan Walsh work a lot harder than he wanted to and expected to. And he lost his cool. And actually, a lot of people, I think point out the fact that it happened right in front of Brad and the new owner, and he's trying to make a really good impression. I think he did. I think that, did they want him to get tossed? No, but when you look at their roster coming into the season, who's going to be an instigator? Who's going to be an agitator? Who's going to be someone that is not going to tolerate you trying to get under their skin. Now, did he retaliate in the proper manner? Absolutely not. But that's the point of this summer league. It's to learn from those type of experience. So I think it's going to be to his benefit to having gone through something like that, because I think he has a better sense of responsibility and what that means to him and the role that he has to play with this team. And let's be honest, when your head coach hits you with a text before you get in there just saying, I kind of like that, that's the kind of stuff that, as we know, Joe Mazzulla is at. Joe Mazzulla, a.k.a. Gary Washburn's BFF, that's the kind of stuff that he likes.
Mm-hmm. So
I know, Gary. I'm sorry, Gary. I didn't mean to tell everyone that's your boy. My bad.
Big picture-wise, then, so far, obviously, still early on, but who would you both say has been the player with the most impact?
I'm going to say Bassey. Because when he's played well, they won. When he's been mediocre to subpar, they haven't. And I thought against Miami, there's some things that he did that just kind of bugged me. Like when he's setting those high pick and rolls, he doesn't really set it. It's more like he rolls to the basket way too quick. And that doesn't allow the ball handler to get the matchup they want. It doesn't allow him to get the space going to the rim that he wants. He needs to slow down just a half millisecond and just actually set the screen and then roll, as opposed to sort of kind of but not really set it and then take off. And it was little things like that he did throughout that Miami Heat game. And again, it may not show up in the stat sheet as a mistake, but when you start looking at the game film and you see that, guys were turning the ball over and guys were missing shots because they were contested, because they weren't able to get the switches that they were able to get in the first couple of games. It's little things like that he has to get better at. But I will say this, I think he has done more than enough to garner an invite to camp, because I would like to see what he does when he has to play with a higher caliber of talent, where basically the role that he will have will be far more locked into rebounding and defense and blocking shots, the things that he does a very good job at, and may not necessarily be looked upon much as a scoring threat. Because I think he's been in the league long enough to know that everyone has a role to play. And if you are the ninth man and you're getting a chance to get out there and ball, you better not be looking to drop 20, because that ain't your role. They got plenty of guys who can do that. Can you rebound? Can you defend? Can you set good screens to free up the Jaylen Browns, the Derek Whites, the Peyton Pritchards of the world? Those are the things that I would like to see him get an opportunity to explore a little bit more. And to me, I think he's done enough to where if the Celtics don't bring him to camp, somebody is.
Yeah, I would say Bassey has been the most impactful player, because some of the other players that we might have expected haven't played all that well. Baylor Scheierman's he's missed a lot of shots. He got a little bit more, he got a little hotter in the second half against Miami, but he has really not been knocking down the shot. Now, he's been doing other things, right? We're not just talking about only scoring. We're talking about rebounding, assists, making defensive plays. Scheierman's been solid. Jordan Walsh has had his moments. I thought he's been solid. But Bassey's been the guy who's just been the most steady and the most consistent. The question is, we'll see they got 2 more games left. Who plays in the last 2 games? Whether Amari Williams returns. What about Hugo Gonzalez? Do they sit him out another game or 2? We'll see about that. They don't play till Thursday. So to me, I just think Bassey's been the most consistent, because probably he's the most NBA ready. Like, if you look at the guys in that team, there's nobody else. Like, Scheierman's entering his second year. Jordan has played limited games in his first 2 seasons. There's no, Bassey's played 4 years. Obviously, he's been to G League at times, but he's played 4 NBA seasons, right? So he's the guy who should be most NBA ready. And I think he has shown that, and shown that he could play against, high quality, centers in Summer League. Now, we'll see what happens if he, faces Embiid or Jokic. But we're talking about in Summer League, he is definitely holding his own. So he has been obviously the most outstanding player so far for the Celtics.
Another guy, Gary, just not to get you off point, but another guy that comes to mind, that Kenneth Lofton Jr. He's intriguing to me. When I watch him play, I really don't know what to make of him. It's like, physically speaking, you're not really my guy. And yet, when I watch you play, you do so many things that I like the ball handling. He doesn't play as much bully ball as I wish he did, but you can see that's a part of his game. I'd be curious to see what they do with him these last couple of games and whether he might be kind of one of those. If let's say you decide that you've seen enough of Bassey and you say, let's just give Lofton a shot, and he goes out there and gets you a triple double. I think he's got, to me, watching his game in Summer League, he absolutely could do that. Would not shock me the least bit. That's a guy that I think might be an interesting player for the Celtics to really monitor the rest of Summer League and potentially in the training camp.
That being said, with the 2 more games left, what are you both looking forward to or want to see more of before Summer League closes out?
I want to see more Hugo. There we go. Let me drop the H.
Hugo.
I understand that he was part of a long, overseas run, but you look at the minutes played. It's not like he was out there giving you Jokic minutes or Embiid minutes. I mean, he was basically the 9th, maybe 10th guy playing less than double-digit minutes per game, and I don't think he played in every game. So it's not like there's this physical fatigue dynamic that he's trying to work through. I would like to see more of him because I do think from what I have seen in Summer League, that is a guy that can help them. I think he's one of those guys that if you put him on the active roster for 82 games, he's going to help you win 2 games, at least 2 or 3 games. And for a late first-round pick on a team that has been built historically last 4 or 5 years to win championships, for him to basically play his way into a role and help you win a couple games, I think is impressive. And I would like to see him get more reps playing and showcasing the diversity of his game, because watching him play, he can do a lot of things that can help you win. I think when Brad talks about, he just makes winning plays, helps winning, that kind of stuff, watching him play, you can absolutely see that's a part of it. And I want to see more of that.
Yeah, I want to see. I think Scheierman has to have a breakout game where he knocks down 6-7 threes, just to show that he can really, really hit that shot. Max Schugler is a guy I'd like to see more from. Hugo, I think he's going to be okay. I think he's at this point now where, the kid is 19 years old, and he's really putting a lot of pressure on himself. He just came from Spain. He goes from Spain to Boston to Las Vegas, and he's just probably, his head is spinning right now. So I would like to see him take the next couple of weeks. Obviously, Summer League ends next week. Maybe take a little bit of time off. And I'm not talking about like vacation, but just clear his head a little bit, get into the gym, at the practice facility in Brighton, and just start working on things. So by the time training camp comes, he's ready to go, right? I just think he needs maybe a week or 2 off just to take a deep breath, just, take some jumpers, work on your game a little bit by yourself, and then get in with the coaches, get a regimen, and then really go to work. And I just think that's what he needs right now. Right now, it's hard to judge when the guy's coming over from Spain. He got drafted, June 25th, and then he's in Boston 5-6 days later, and in Vegas 5-6 days after that in Summer League, playing a whole new environment, whole new players, a lot of new styles. This is not EuroLeague ball. So I would give Hugo some grace here. You could see the skill set. You could even see the ability to shoot 3-pointers. It's not as successful as it's going to be, but you could see a good all-around game, good instincts. But yeah, they're pressing him. He struggled a couple of times. He definitely had a slow first half where he turned the ball over a couple of times. They're giving him the full court press. I know the kid Kyra Lewis, who was a former first-round pick for New Orleans, was playing for Miami, was really giving it to him on defense at times, pressing him. So to me, I would give Hugo some grace, but it would be nice if he ended Summer League, one of these last 2 games, with a nice little performance to get his confidence going, then take a break, maybe, go back home, see his parents and all that, get some Spanish cooking in him, get some home cooking
get
in
some
him.
food.
Yeah, just to have
some snacks.
Relax, take a deep breath, then come on back maybe in August, get some workouts going in, and then be ready for camp.
If I'm him, I'm trying to hook up with Jaylen Brown. That's that to me. If I'm a young guy coming to the Boston Celtics this season, having never been with the organization, I want to hang with Jaylen. Because Jaylen has, to me, there is no player within the last 4 or 5 years that has seen the incredible highs and lows of what it means to be a Celtic. He has been all NBA. He has been on the trading block. He has been, he's dealt with, from day one where he seems he's really smart, maybe too smart, which I'm still a little bit low-key triggered by that line of thought. But if I'm a young guy, I want to learn from Jaylen because Jaylen has a lot to teach. He's been through a lot, and yet he's still standing tall as can be. So if I'm Hugo, I might want to reach out to Jaylen and just kind of hang out with him and just kind of see his level of what professionalism from the lens of Jaylen Brown looks like.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. All right, before we move on, for those of you that are listening to the show, we just want to remind you that you can subscribe to this podcast, like it, and even give it a review. And for those of you that are watching the show on CLNS, you can go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the Celtics All Access YouTube channel, where you can find our show and, of course, a lot of other great Celtics content on a regular basis. Also, make sure you turn on those notifications so that you know the instant a new video drops.
Absolutely. And also, just want to give a quick shout out to our good friends at Prizepicks, which is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Don't miss your chance to cash in while watching your favorite teams and athletes compete this summer, whether you're talking soccer, women's basketball, esports, you name it, Prizepicks has it all. And with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prizepicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prizepicks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. How do you get in? It's real simple. You just download the app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prizepicks, run your game.
Okay, so before we get out of here, there is a new report that Jayson Tatum has been a part of the effort to recruit Damian Lillard.
Who had that report, Kwani? Who coming with that? Who said that? What his name?
What do you most about that idea? Or
I want Gary to talk about this.
Yeah,
Gary.
First of all,
what are your thoughts on that report?
First of all, I want to thank God for the ability to write stories about,
And today was a good day too, Garrett, to bring that point out.
Playing basketball, almost, watching players drop triple doubles. I want to thank God for that. Not thank my mama.
Not the Lord.
Not the Lord. We'll talk about that very troubling interview with Ice Cube later.
Oh my God! I guess we're closing out with that.
But I want to tell the listeners, it's our fault. Sherrod and I had a discussion. We failed Kwani. We have failed Kwani. We've got to do better. So it's our fault. Do not blame Kwani for not knowing the lyrics to "Today Was a Good Day," or probably never having heard the song.
I had heard the song before. I just did not know the words.
Oh God.
That was the issue. For those that don't have context, I interviewed Ice Cube, which you can actually watch that interview on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Kwani has questions, but unfortunately, I did a little trivia, a few rounds of trivia with him, and I could not finish the lyrics to his song. In my defense, I was given open-ended questions, and I gave him multiple choice questions. I just don't think that's fair. But I digress. I was born a year after that song came out.
His most popular song.
Right.
Because I did not grow up on 90s rap, unfortunately. Anyway. It's okay. I know the words now. I actually looked this over the weekend. Did a lot of work. Anyway.
Just the other day, them fools tried to blast me. And I rolled up and they rolled right past me. So we'll work on it, Kwani.
Yes, we
Anyway,
will. So much work to do.
I was told Tatum has been reaching out to Dame. Now I'm not talking about, he's sending him gifts and say college here.
Sent them a rollie.
Little flowers and cards, little fruit basket.
Rolex watches and envelopes full of money. But he's been talking to him about the possibility of joining Boston.
Mm-hmm.
Dame is intrigued by free agency. He's intrigued by being courted, and I think it's very intelligent for Tatum to try to sell Dame on Boston. Now, is it going to be effective? Is it going to work? We'll see. Does money motivate Dame? Does being close to the West Coast where his family motivate Dame? We'll see, but I was told he's opened up to a lot of different teams. So it's not just, I need to go to the West Coast. I need to go to Golden State, or I want to go back to Portland. It could be the possibility of just, he wants to win a championship. So we'll see if that works. But I was told Tatum and him have definitely had communication since he's been waived by the Milwaukee Bucks. And, he's intrigued by the idea of being a free agent, and is at least open to the possibility of playing in Boston. There might not be his first choice. We'll see how that goes, because I don't know how many teams vying for a championship at this point are going to go after Dame. They've already probably very good in the front court. And then if you look at a team like the Warriors, well, they're trying to win next year. So you sign him to maybe play in the playoffs or late in the season, because he tore his Achilles about 2 weeks before Jayson did. So, all of them, they're all kind of, him and Halliburton are all in that same boat, where Halliburton's already been declared out for the season. The Celtics will not make any announcements on Tatum, and Dame, obviously now not being affiliated with the team, we're not going to get any updates until he might say something. But I think he's obviously going to take his time, considering his age and the fact that he wants to return and play at a high level. So I think there's discussions going on between Tatum and Dame. And obviously these are two guys that played together on the 20 Olympic team. They're good. They have a good relationship. So I'd expect that.
Yeah, and I think Tatum it's smart for Tatum to make that pitch and try to sell him on Boston. Particularly when you realize, as Gary pointed out, their timeline to return is very close. So there's a potential that if Tatum were to convince him to come to Boston, they could literally be working on building their chemistry while rehabbing from the same injury, and know that they're not there's not this kind of awkward timetable where one guy is way ahead of the other. There's a 2-week difference from where they started in terms of rehabbing. And so it's fair to assume that where they are is a very similar place. And if you're Dame, this might be the best shot that you have of winning a championship. I mean, think about this. If you're Dame Lillard, if I come to Boston, I'm the third option. How many plays? And Dame is good enough to where if he's your third option, let's just say, I'm going to just put it out there, he's better than damn near any other team's third option. Period. Even if he's at 75%, he's better than pretty much every team's number 3 option. And if that's the case, if you're Boston, you get it. That's what you need to have be fertile. And if you're Dame, I don't think you're going to find a better situation where you're going to be that far down the totem pole and still be someone that is going to be counted upon to make an impact, but not necessarily carry the weight of the team on your shoulders. It just seems to make a lot of sense. But, as Gary pointed out, and as we've learned, Dame's, family, situation was was among many things that made Milwaukee difficult for him. And so certainly that's going to be a factor to some extent. But I think if Dame is truly about winning an NBA championship and you start looking at the teams that most likely are going to make a run at him, Boston has to be at or certainly near the top of the list of teams that makes the most sense for him to suit up for. And the point that Gary made about money, the fact is Milwaukee, I mean, if Dame don't play another game, he getting all his money. So for him, it's not necessarily getting the money that you've already agreed to. I mean, it would be being kind of greedy, to be honest. If you're like, I need someone to pay me the full mid-level, dude, you're going to get all the money that you have contractually obligated to get. It's just that is how much of that is going to be coming from your new team versus how much will be coming out of Milwaukee's pocket. So I don't think money is going to be much, if at all, a factor in all this. I think for Dame, it's just opportunity to play, opportunity to win a championship. And the wild card in that equation is the family dynamic. We really don't know how much that's going to factor in his decision as to where he winds up playing. But he's going to be back in the league. Dame is going to be on somebody's roster in 26, 27. And will it be Boston? Will remains to be seen.
That being said, if he ends up being Boston, what impact would that have on Jalen's hierarchy within the Celtics organization?
Oh, JB going to be all right. In fact, I mean, he's going to get better looks because he's got another guy out there that can knock down shots. I think his playmaking the stats might look better because if you're dribble drive and you kicking it to Dame, you got to feel pretty damn good about your chances for him to knock those shots down. And if you're Dame, if you've got guys that are forcing that defense to move and shift and pivot in ways that are going to create more space for you without you having to do much other than catch and shoot, you're going to have the potential to be super impactful. Now, defense, that's another question, and that's another story for another day. But if you're the Celtics, the positives that a Dame Lillard as your number 3 option are huge. And Jaylen Brown, it will be, without question, among those that will benefit if he's on the floor with Dame Lillard as a Celtic.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jaylen will be fine. I think that when you add a veteran like that, it's like similar, but not the same as adding like a guy like Drew Holiday, who is a pro, knows how to mesh and blend. I don't think Dame at age 36 is going to be sitting there saying, I need to get my 25 shots a game. I'm going to be the number 1 option, number 2 option. I think he'll blend into the team element. I think he was fine in Milwaukee, diverting at times to Giannis Antetokounmpo and other guys. I think he was completely okay with that. The dynamic and the chemistry just didn't work. And so if I'm the Celtics, I think it's a good fit. And I think Dame would understand. He comes into a situation with 2 number 1 kind of 1 and 1A guys in Tatum and Brown. And then you even have a guy like Derek White who's going to have to get his shots off, and he's going to play into that team concept. So I think if you're Dame, you say, I'm not messing up this situation. I'm not going to be selfish. This isn't Portland where I needed to be the number 1 option. I had to take 25 shots a game. This isn't Milwaukee where there was a bunch of aging guys around you besides you and Giannis, and so shots had to go up. I think he looks at his teammates and goes, man, it's probably the best team I've ever played on. I'm not messing this up. I want to win a chip, so I'm going to blend into the element. So I think him, Tatum, and Brown will all be fine. The chemistry will not be an issue.
And just a side note to what Gary's talking about, and I'll be real quick with this. One person to keep in mind that might play a role in this that no one is talking about is Chauncey Billups. Dame, they were able to build up a good rapport in Portland. Chauncey, if he talks to Dame and helps Dame to be comfortable with the concept of coming to Boston, wouldn't be the first time Chauncey has done that. Some guy named Kevin Garnett wasn't all sold on coming to Boston, and in a conversation with Chauncey, all of a sudden, it wasn't so bad coming to Boston. So keep my boy Broadway Billups in mind. He might be the low key, sweetener to get the deal done.
Of course. Oh, that's a good one. All right, before we get out of here, for those of you that are listening to the show, we just want to remind you, subscribe to the podcast, leave a review. And for those of you that are watching the show on CLNS, go ahead, hit that like button and subscribe to the CLNS Media and Celtics All Access YouTube channel, where you can find our show regularly and a lot of other great Celtics content. And one more thing, please make sure you can turn on those notifications so that you know the instant a new video drops. For Sherrod Blakely and Gary Washburn, I'm Kwani Lunis, and this is the Big 3 NBA Podcast.
And we hope you all today have a good day.
Thank you, God.